What's going on, y'all? 805 Just here, the real Capri Sun. Shout out to everybody up and along the Pacific Coast, the Central Coast of California. On my birth certificate, the place, the town, the city is Ventura, California. And the county, of course, is Ventura County, the real 805. Shout out to all my 805ers and all my folks and family along the coast. Let's just get right into it, y'all. Stephen A. Smith. Man, I'm starting to get tired of it. I really am. I'm starting to get tired of seeing his name in the headlines. I'm starting to get tired of the repetitive topics. Like, enough already. For those of y'all who don't know, Stephen A. Smith, he is a host, he is a commentator for the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. He is a host on their morning show, First Take. I believe he's an executive producer on that show as well. And he's been receiving not only a lot of backlash, but a lot of heat. He's been in the headlines past couple weeks. Mainly, I would say, what well, let's backtrack a little bit. I would say the first thing that popped out for the last few years, Stephen A. Smith has been very vocal about wanting to be paid more by ESPN. He made it clear the last few years he wants to have $100 million contract. So all you mathematicians could do the math on how much money he would need to make per year for the total to end up being $100 million. But he's been saying that for many years, and then I believe it was last week or maybe the week before, ESPN gave him that contract. I believe it's a 5-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, totaling $100 million, puts him in like the top 5 or top 10 for sports TV people as far as being the highest paid. So that was something that he was, celebrating, and people were celebrating him for it. And then sure enough, I don't know if it was that night, I don't recall because it was a few days ago. It might have been either that night or the next night. Stephen A. Smith is sitting courtside at the Lakers game in LA, and he is confronted. He is approached by none other than LeBron James. And when I say confront, if you've seen the video, it's gone viral. LeBron, during the game, I mean, the Lakers had like a timeout or something. LeBron walked away from the huddle, walked away from his teammates, and confronted Stephen A. Smith. And it didn't look like a friendly conversation. And I'm not gonna lie, for me, it was hilarious. I thought it was extremely funny, and I'll tell you why. We are witnessing. I don't call myself, a prophet. I'm not saying that, this will happen, but I believe this is going to happen. This is my prediction. I believe we are witnessing the downfall. We are witnessing the decline of Stephen A. Smith right before our eyes. When a professional basketball player, and not just any professional basketball player, whether you agree that LeBron is the greatest NBA or basketball player of all time, that's neither here nor there. But we can all agree he's a great basketball player, right? He's a future Hall of Famer. When a player like that has to approach you aggressively during a game, like leave his teammates and leave his coach to step to you to confront you about talking about one of his children, his son, that's a problem. And I'm not surprised that this happened at all. Stephen A. Smith, for the last few months, and I don't know if it's because he knew he was getting this new contract, he knew some big money was headed his way. For the last few months, Stephen A. Smith has been talking a little wild. He's been talking crazy. And now, for those of us who follow the sports world or maybe even work in the sports world, we know or are very familiar with Stephen A. Smith's style. This is his thing. That's kind of what made him popular and got him popping at ESPN originally, is that, he has a very boisterous personality, and he can be very loud, and he could be very, off the wall. And then I would say a lot of people may agree that over the years, it's kind of become more of an act now. It's kind of become more of a show because because he's made it already, if that makes sense. It kind of made sense when he first started, becoming, a guest on First Take and becoming a guest on all these ESPN shows. He had to make his mark somehow. He had to perform so that he would end up with a long-term contract or be able to, make some money on TV. For those of you who don't know, Stephen A. Smith started in the sports writing world. He was a sports writer in Philadelphia. He famously reported on Allen Iverson's career in the late 90s, early 2000s, back when AI was still playing for the Sixers and they were going to the NBA Finals and whatnot. And I think that's where he really got on. That's where I became familiar with him. Then he got into sports radio, and we started to hear him on the radio. And then, of course, made the jump from radio to being on TV, on ESPN, on Fox Sports, making all these guest appearances. So he got on, and then I think he just got cocky. He just got prideful, and he just became the mouthpiece for ESPN. He's made it clear that he believes he's the biggest star over at ESPN. I'm not going to say that he's not, but I will say that, he likes to brag on the ratings and things like that. And I don't really get that. I think his head is in the clouds because it's like, dude, when you got to ESPN, they were already the worldwide leader in sports. Like, that's not just their motto. They're literally the leader in sports. Like, there's other networks and platforms that have a strong following, get strong ratings, but ESPN, they're the OG, they're the veteran on the block. So whenever he boasts about ratings, and I think he does that because he believes that the ratings are due to him, I don't agree with that. I believe if Stephen A. Smith didn't work for ESPN, their ratings would still be pretty good. They would still, have a lot of people watching their shows, and they would still have their same viewership. So I believe we're watching the downfall of Stephen A. Smith because ESPN just gave him all this money, and he didn't really apologize in the best way to LeBron and his family. He didn't really, he got on air and he was acting like he was sad about the situation and, acting like, basically, like he needed some sympathy. And that it's an act. It's an act. Stephen A. Smith, in my opinion, has become an actor. He's become, before it was more genuine, before he got all the money, before he got all the fame because he was being himself. But now he knows what people want to see. He knows people want to see him yell. He knows people want to see him say crazy things. And that's why he's, on Fox News now, and he pops up on, News Nation, and you see him on, daytime television shows because he believes he's that guy. He believes he's Mr. Superstar, and he shouldn't have to just be on ESPN. He can have his own podcast, and he can go to these other TV shows and just, talk about running for president and all this crazy stuff. So just really the point of this video is just continue to watch. Like I said, I don't consider myself a prophet. I'm not saying that I can predict the future, but I really do believe we're currently watching the downfall. He got his money, he got his, his $100 million contract, making crazy millions a year now at ESPN. And I think ESPN, I tweeted this actually a few days ago, I think ESPN is going to regret this decision because they just gave him this money and now he has beef with not only LeBron James, but other players in the league who he may consider friends or sources. They don't want to mess with him. They don't want to mess with Stephen A. Smith. It's like he's contagious now because they're like, wait, LeBron doesn't even like you? Like LeBron has an issue with you so much that he had to go talk to you in the middle of a game? And it wasn't a peaceful talk. It was LeBron was giving him the business. LeBron was being a parent. And I'm with LeBron. As a parent, I'm with him. Like, hey man, you got to stand up for your kids. And even though, LeBron's son, Bronny James is, 20, 21, that's still his son. That's still his child. And for Stephen A. Smith to pick on him the way he has, just because, it's going to get views or people, will make it go viral, that's not right. And Stephen A. Smith doesn't seem to understand that, which is crazy because this man is probably almost, 60 years old. He's 50 something, I'm sure. So just watch, y'all. Just watch, see what happens. And we'll see if I end up being right. But either way, originally in the early years, I was a fan of Stephen A. Smith. I used to listen to him on the radio. I enjoyed him in his early days at ESPN, and those days are gone. I'm not a fan. And let's just see what he ends up doing. So anyway, shout out to y'all. Shout out to all the subscribers. I appreciate y'all. Y'all the greatest. Thank you for hanging around, and we'll be back on what's today? Tuesday. Yeah, we should be back on Friday. No. Tomorrow, most likely tomorrow, Wednesday or Friday. Have another drop. But thank y'all, and as always, peace, peace.